If you are no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stop judging yourself, would you make different choices? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here's the host of Inspired Choices radio show, Possibilities Coach, Christine McIver.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Whether you're listening live or you're listening in the replay, whether you're listening on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, iTunes podcast, Google Play, Radio Online, you name it, we are there. Wherever you're listening, I am super grateful you are. So tonight we are going to be talking about when is the right time to speak up. There is a lot of things that I want to bring forth regarding this one tonight, and a lot of areas where speaking up is extremely important, where speaking up sometimes is risky, where speaking up is sometimes uncomfortable. But we're going to get into all of that shortly. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a possibilities coach, and what that means is that I know things in our lives, greater things, things that we desire, are truly possible. I know that if you can imagine it, if you're dreaming about it, you can make it possible. Some people call me crazy. Some people call me woohoo. That's okay. I have seen the impossible be created. I have seen big dreams actually come through because of choices, because of what you have decided you're going to never stop. You're never going to give up in order to have. I know that when we really look at our thoughts, when we look at our words, when we look at our actions, and we make choices, and we learn from those choices, we can create greater. And that's what it is to be in the energy of possibility. So I have been working with individuals for over 10 years now. Actually, my 10-year anniversary for my business is coming up next month, and I know we're going to be creating something special around that, so stay tuned for that. But, you know, I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and I've seen people be at the depths of despair, and I've seen people move through that and create a life that they couldn't even imagine was possible just a few years prior. I know that sometimes things have to get uncomfortable before we will actually move beyond into some greater. But the point of the matter is that you can always make another choice, and that's what this is always about. I do believe that we have forces around us that want us to succeed. We have energies available to us that we can change things. We live in such an amazing world, a global world where so much is at our fingertips, where we can expand and grow and truly have what it is that we never thought was actually possible. So whether you're an individual looking to create greater in relationships, in your relationships with your lover, in relationship with your children, family members, you're looking to turn up your career or expand that business or start that business, one that you can look to that will challenge you, support you, be your cheerleader, and lots of times get a kick in the butt that you know that you require. So if working with me sounds like it might be an adventure and might be something that would contribute to you, I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me at inspiredchoices.ca or here through the Inspired Choices Network on my personal page here. So you can always send me an email, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. So tonight, let's get into tonight's show. When is the right time to speak up? What thought, my friends, go through your mind when you want to speak up, but you hold back? Do you speak what you know or continuously question what you know to be of value? If you actually speak up, what might change? So before we get into lots of your questions, I want to share with you what went on in my life. And you may have heard this story before if you're a returning listener. or maybe it's the first time. When I was very young, I had someone that I cared about and respected and looked up to dearly say to me, "Do you never stop talking?" Yes, it was a judgment. Yes, it was unkind. And this person cares about me deeply. Sometimes we do say things that just kind of pop out of our mouths, and we go, "Oh, damn, I didn't mean to hurt somebody," or "You were annoying me." Sometimes we don't know how to say what's going on with us, so we say things that just, we don't actually think before we speak. Not that we need to filter everything, but sometimes, speaking up needs to be looked at how we deliver it. Nevertheless, that's what was said to me as a very young girl. And I remember that so strongly in my mind. Childhood memories are not huge for me, but I do remember that one. And from that moment on, I started to think and question myself. I started to question that I was speaking too much, that I was going to be judged. As I grew up, I went into the space of people are going to laugh at me. People are going to think that I'm stupid. You see, when you start to question that you're talking too much, then you start to question everything you're about to say. And you start to figure that there's something wrong with you, and you imagine the worst. How many of you out there have ever wanted to say something, maybe in a classroom setting, or maybe in a group setting, a family setting, maybe just with your significant other or somebody who is significant in your life, and you questioned it? What about the old fun game of running the entire conversation through your head 1,000,000 times? That's a fun time waster. Well, these are things that I did continuously. I thought that what I had to say had no value, and therefore I would create a scenario in my head. And you and I know, especially if you're a returning listener, that what you think about, you create. So if you believe that you have no value, what comes out of your mouth has the energy, at least, of no value. So that went on with me for a very long time. Now, of course, when I wasn't in my head and I wasn't continuously questioning myself, and I was in the space of doing something that brought me joy, or in the space of oftentimes working with children, or when I was with friends where I felt safe, I would be bringing my brilliance forward. I would come forth with ideas that they really loved, or I would come forth with knowing something that I thought everybody knew, and I would teach it to them. And slowly but slowly, people started to say things to me that showed me I had more value to bring to the table than I ever believed that I had. And from that space, I started to really seek more of what I know. Because living in that space, and if you're somebody that's doing this, living in that space of forever questioning yourself, forever thinking that there is something wrong with you, is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. It is a mind trip of absolute magnitude, and something that I'll tell you, so I'm surprised I actually made it to this time in my life, because it just was going around in my head continuously, and such self-doubt can just bury you in this world when it's intense. And so for me, it was slowly but slowly having wonderful people in my life mirror back to me something that they saw in me, and that I was able to begin to see in myself. And so I was able to start to come out of that space. And as I continued to seek for more of my own awareness and seek for more of my own happiness, it started to unfold itself, thankfully. to the space that I am today, where I actually speaking is my gig. Whether it's speaking on the radio, speaking with clients, speaking in front of an audience, this is what I do, and I know today that I have a great deal to bring to the table. And so that's why I feel like this topic is a topic that I'm an expert on. Knowing when the right time to speak up is. First of all, if you're someone who has experienced this or who is experiencing this yourself, or you know someone else that experiences this magnitude of self-doubt about speaking, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to get an email from you. Maybe if you're listening live, you can come join us in the chat room. Come to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. On the menu bar, click on chat room, or feel free to call in with your questions. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or the U.S. 815-880-8255. I would love to take your questions. I would love to know what's going on for you so we can unlock the value in you, unlock your voice, and bring it into the world. So one of the greatest things that I want to tell you out of the gate that most people would wait until the end of the show to tell you is that you have something to say that is of value. It is not only something that would be valued by people around you, but that the world is waiting to hear. You have a contribution to make in this world. Otherwise, you would not be here. You not only came here to have a hell of a lot of fun, but you came here to expand who you are and to contribute to expanding the world around you. And when you hold back speaking what you know, you're actually gypping all of us. You're actually gypping yourself, and you're gypping those around you. It's really essential that you understand this, and I'm going to dig into this deeper throughout the show. Interesting, we have a question in the chat room also about speaking out, like on someone's behalf if they are being abused. That's great, and that's a really big question. I'm going to answer that after we come back from our commercial break. So know that you chose to show up in human form. You chose to show up in a time and space where not only you're a human being who speaks, but you have in this time and space more avenues to be heard than ever before. This is not a coincidence. And what is available to us today, you are a minority, whether you are living in a country where you feel like you're not getting the attention, maybe in a family that suppresses you, maybe you are a woman feeling like the male dominant world is holding you back. I'm going to be really bold and say you created being there in that time and space, and maybe you did so that you would pop. And what I mean by that is when you're getting held down and held down and held down and held down, sometimes the forces within you have to become so agitated so you will finally pop. And we will find ourselves again and again creating these situations. I know many people have done it, creating these situations so that we will finally get so agitated that we will come out of it. We will push ourselves out of it. We say we had no other choice, but we in fact created that so it would actually kick our own ass forward. So I don't buy that somebody is in a bad, quote-unquote, situation. I buy that they're in a situation they would like to change. And so when you know that you have choice and you know that you have a voice, that's where you can begin to change it. So after the commercial break, we're going to go deeper into this, knowing when to speak up. We're going to talk about extreme situations. We're going to talk about very minor situations. So stay tuned, everyone. You are listening to Inspired Choices Radio with myself, your host, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning in to Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We're talking about speaking up. When is the right time to speak? So how many of you have experienced questioning whether you should speak up, right? Questioning if you should say something or not say something. First of all, know that if you're in that space of questioning, there's something that you are aware of, okay? First of all, you may be, that questioning may be coming in, that doubt energy where you are, it's quite heavy and you're worried about it. That may be your body, your mind's way of saying, hey, it's trying to show you the contrast. It's trying to show you, bring your attention to this, possibly, I'm going to guess, repeat behavior where you're questioning your voice. You see, most people change 80% out of pain and 20% out of pleasure. So when you are in that quote-unquote negative space, that quote-unquote uncomfortable space, there is something showing you, you're showing yourself, your body is showing yourself that this is not great. There's a space here that I'm not enjoying. And so what it does is it brings your attention to it so you'll start to look at it. It brings your attention to it so you will begin to create what it is that you desire. So at the same time that you are having something negative happen, and there's not a real happen, we're creating it all, but when these things come up in you, when this negative thing comes up in you, at the exact same time, the thing that you desire is simultaneously created. Now, here's the catch. Usually the negative experience, we are more aware of it because it's much more intense. It's heavy. There's emotions involved in it. There might even be physical responses involved in it. So that's where our focus goes. But at the exact same time as we have something that we do not want come up, we have something that we do want to occur, and it comes up simultaneously. So if, when something comes up, you were to ask perhaps, okay, I'm not enjoying this. What would I desire instead of this? what would be great if this wasn't happening? What is it that I could actually have in my life if I could move past all of this? And in that moment, you will start to get ideas, thoughts, energies of what it is that you desire. So if you're someone that is in the space of, I don't want to talk, I'm afraid to talk, I'm afraid he's going to judge me, what would the exact opposite of that be? I'd like to be heard. I'd like to contribute that I know. Right in this moment, there's something in me that wants to speak. Truthfully, guys, this is how simple this can be. And as you start to uncover what it is that you desire, your desires start to grow more and more. Okay? So I hope this is making sense to you, because the minute you start to give energy to what it is that you desire, you start to expand it. When you focus on it, it starts to expand. You start to get ideas and awarenesses regarding that. And that will definitely start to change your reality. It'll start to change what it is that is upsetting you, that is holding you back. So when you have this energy of, you want to say something, you go to say something, and you start to really dissect what it is that you want to say, you actually stop the energy of the contribution that you could be bringing forth. I've said this before, and I teach this to all of the hosts here on the network many, many times. If you would get out of your own way and you would just start to open your mouth and cultivate and allow what you know to come through, brilliance is going to come out. Because when you are filtering all of the time, you're not only stopping what, quote unquote, you think may be stupid, you're also filtering the brilliance that could be in the world. Now, how do you know that it's brilliant? You don't. You don't know that it's brilliant. You've got to trust that you've got a contribution to make in the world. Here's what I absolutely know. I've seen this time and time and time again. You'll be speaking about something. You'll have a topic, and you may say the exact same words I would say, but you have a different awareness of those words. You have a different energy with those words. And when you speak it, the people that need to hear it with your energy, with the way that, with what you know, they will be able to hear it. The people that are looking for my energy, the people that are looking for my awareness, they will be able to hear me. Now, people will say, that's ridiculous. No, I challenge you 100%. There are no new thoughts in the world. There are no new big awarenesses in the world. It's the way that it comes through you that makes it different, that makes it unique, that makes it pop. I've been in this business for so many years, and I've been on the internet, I've been on social media. I've seen people say the exact same things time and time and time again. And people will say, well, who said that? And then the next thing you know, that they've quoted 3 or 4 different people, and 3 or 4 different people have said that. Then people say, oh, well, they should have plagiarized this one. They should have plagiarized that one. Or they probably did plagiarize this one or plagiarize that one. I'm going to tell you that more than likely those people weren't aware of each other. They weren't aware that the other person said this. And I'm talking about things that were said by quite famous people today many hundreds of years ago, where they wouldn't have had the internet. They likely didn't have it. They were reading where that person was quoted. Because here's the thing, when the energy of the thoughts of the awarenesses are out here in the world, they are available for us when we're ready to receive them. And then when we add on our knowing to it and we share it, that's when somebody else hear it in a different way. Have you ever had somebody say something to you and you just didn't get it and you wanted to understand it? And have you ever said to them, can you say it in a different way? You know, lots of times people will say something to me and I really want to learn what they're saying and I don't get it. It's just not, quote unquote, landing with me. I will say to them, can you say it differently? Can you say it in a different way? And they do. And it like, boom, it completely pops, right? So there's an example where one person can say the same thing 2 different ways. And you may hear it or you may not hear it. So please know that the way that you deliver it, the energy that you have in the world, will contribute to someone else. Now, what I know is as you begin to exercise this muscle of speaking up, there's a few things that you need to keep in the front. First of all, you're never up so badly that you're going to die. You're not going to die of embarrassment. Trust me. I've been on the radio for many, many years. I've said things that I went, oops, and I didn't die. I'm still here. My very first radio show, I cried for the first 15 minutes as I tried to speak. I didn't die, and I'm a successful radio show host. So you guys aren't going to completely perish, all right? If you continuously think about, I want to speak, I want to contribute, I want to say something, or you're in pain because you're holding back, please know both of those are begging you to step forward with what you know. All right? Next, when you are starting to wanting to lean in to contribute, start asking yourself some questions, especially if you keep hesitating. Ask some questions about what's my target here? What is my target? So let's say you're in a situation where you're talking with someone who has very differing beliefs for you. And if you ask yourself very gently, what's my target here? What do I desire to contribute here? All right? Is your ego running the show? Do you just want to push back on the other person? Do you want to show them that they're wrong and you're right? Or is there something that you know will contribute to the conversation? When you come forward and you share that, this is what I know, and this is what's true for me, and you do it from that space of complete space and allowance for what they believe and what they share, and for what you believe and what you're sharing, you're not going to get into this big pushback. If you go to speak and you're doing push energy with speaking up, please know someone at some point is going to push back. So that's where you want to just check your energy, all right? If you're around people that oftentimes, trigger you or push a button in you, you got to practice bringing what you know to the table without aggression. Because here's what's going to happen. Knowing when to speak up is also knowing how to speak up to create greater for you. If you come forward and you speak up with push energy, what is that actually going to create for you? All right? And what's going to happen is the entire thing that you were speaking about, the topic, the center of the conversation will suddenly get lost in the intensity, in anger, in frustration. And you will have completely missed what it is that you were desiring to bring forward, because those intense energies distract. They pull us down into maybe old patterns. They pull us into the ego. They pull us into the spaces that really hold us back from creating a greater world. If you think that you wish to contribute, are you doing it from proving energy? Or are you doing it from, I wish to contribute? Ask yourself that question. If you're doing it from proving energy, then your ego is in it. If you're doing it from proving energy, you're standing there like a child screaming. You've got the energy of a child screaming, listen to me. I want to be heard. And everybody, don't get me wrong, everybody should be heard. But on the other side of being heard, what do you desire to be created? So I'm not saying hold back. I'm saying check what it is that you desire to create in that moment. And if you have proving energy in there, if you have your ego in there, you get pushback, would you be willing to say, you know what? I didn't say that exactly the way I desired to say it. And be willing to point to that and be willing to say it again with a different energy. Okay? There is nothing greater than having a vulnerable conversation, because people lean in when you're willing to be vulnerable. When you push, people push back. But when you step into that soft space of being vulnerable, and I don't mean like you've got to tell your life story and end up in tears. That's not what I mean. But when you come forward and you say, you know, that wasn't exactly how I meant it, and you're willing to not only speak that, but you're willing to hear and listen to what the other person or person are saying, that's when you're in the creative energy. That's when you're in the conversation to contribute to those around you. Your words, what you have to contribute, creates our world in a different way. Each and every time I do a radio show, that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking to create and contribute in the world in a different way. To open up a conversation within you, within all of the listeners, that contributes to each and every taking a step forward. So what is it about you and your words that you know will create greater, and why do you desire to speak, and why are you choosing to hold back? We are up for our second break of the night. You are listening to Inspired Choices Radio with your host, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network. When we get back, we're going to continue this conversation of when is the right time to speak up. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning in to Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Do you enjoy music? Is music something you enjoy rocking to in your car or in the shower? Do you happen to play an instrument? Or are you wishing you played an instrument? Have you ever noticed that music can make everything in your life better? Are you curious about how it can bring more ease, more joy, and more possibilities into your life, body, and play? On Musical Magic with Alfie Joe, she explores the magic that music truly is and can be for you as well. Come play and enjoy a whole new world of possibilities. And have a whole lot of fun while we are at it too. Listen for Musical Magic with Alfie Joe radio show every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, and 5 Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we are talking about speaking up. Do you know that your voice in the world creates something greater than ever before? Do you know that your voice in the world contributes to the world that you are desiring to be in? You know, many people, when we talk about speak up and your voice matters, a lot of people push energy with that. They're angry. They do protesting. They do, marches, and they're screaming and yelling. I don't know about you, but when somebody is screaming, I can't hear them. I shut down. I am not interested to be around that energy because, guys, no matter what, all right, the energy is first before the words. You are aware of the energy. You pick up the energy far beyond the words. You remember the energy far beyond the words. I can't remember that saying. Maybe my producer, Melissa, will remember, but it's people remember how you made them feel long past the words that they remember. So you're picking up on the energy first. So what is the energy? What is the energy that you are bringing to the world? What is the energy of your voice matters and speak up? This is what, your first impressions matter most. It really is. And your energy is the very, very first impression. Not your clothes, not your smile, but your energy. That's what people become very aware of, even if they're not cognitively aware of it. You know when something's going someone in a positive or negative way based on their energy, even if that's not something that you have become accustomed to, reading energies. So when talking about your voice matters, your voice in the world, you have experiences, combined experiences no one else has ever had. You have combined emotions. You have combined pleasures. You have combined pains that no one else has ever had. You are unique. I'm sure this is not something that you're hearing for the very first time. You are unique. And with that uniqueness, with those unique experiences, you bring a different voice to the conversation. You bring a different voice to the world. There is no one like you. There has never been anyone like you. There is no one that has your heart. There is no one that has your desires. There is no one that has your anger. There's no one that has your pain. There's no one that's experienced your entire life of experiences in the unique combination that you have. And out of that amazing creation of who you be and every moment in this lifetime that you have ever had comes thoughts, comes ideas, comes knowings. You know more. Most of us know more than we're likely ever willing to express. Because we're in this space of self-judgment, or we're worrying about what other people say. And you know that you're there if you say something and you look around to see people's responses to it. And you are then in this dance of, okay, if they step this way, I'm going to step that way. Right? And I get it. We all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted. I'm not above that. But what I'm saying is when you really start to look at when your voice, bringing your voice forward, you've got to see where you are coming from and what is your target in this. What target in contributing? Is it to be known as the know-it-all? Is it to up another person around you? Or is it to create a new possibility, something greater? Is it to evoke kindness? Is it to evoke someone to step forward in their own life more? What is it for you that has you choose to speak up? Coming from that space and really getting deep with what is my purpose? What is my target? How do I want my voice to appear in the world? When you get clear about that, when you get clear about what your targets are, you start to come forward with a very different energy. And it's not a filtering energy. It's a clarity energy. And that starts to give your voice wings. Now, we had a question earlier in the chat room about speaking out on behalf of someone like they're being abused. Well, here's what I know, is if it's a young child, if it's a child who's being abused, I will always say 100% speak up. Absolutely 100% speak up. Because physically, a child can be dominated and not have the voice. All right? If it's someone who's in a domestic situation, who they are physically incapable of speaking up, maybe somebody who, an elderly person or someone who is physically incapable, maybe they are in a wheelchair, definitely speak up and ask questions about what's going on. If you are with someone who is in a domestic situation that they're choosing, all right, what I absolutely know is that you've got to start with that individual and not from the place of pity and not from the place of trying to save them, but really coming from the space of what is it that you desire? What do you desire differently in your life, in your situation? Because statistics will show you that an abused person will leave a relationship 15 times on average before they will leave for the final time. Because there's something in them that they don't believe is worthy. There's something in them that is pulling them back. It's a pattern, but it's also a choice. And when you come from the space of asking questions and not judgment, and not saying things like, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep going back to that idiot? Right? Why would you do this to yourself? Why are you doing this to your kids? That's going to create different chaos in their world. When you come from the space of, it's your choice. If you need me, I am here. Please know that you can make a different choice. When you show them that you are not going to be complicit with what they are choosing, but that you will be there on the other side when they reach out without judgment, know that you've increased the ability that they're going to choose out of that. I know this because I was there. I was in a abuse situation. And I didn't want to be there, but I kept choosing back to it. We aren't going to get into that whole big thing tonight, but I had one person in my life. They literally had the energy of, I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to save you, but I'm not going to abandon you. And so when I was ready, and I was ready a few times before I was ready for the last time, when I was ready, they were there to support me as I made my choices and even just like getting ideas off of them of what I should do. So you bringing your voice to the table when someone's being abused, you've got to see who's being abused in what situation. All right? You know, abuse counselors and police officers, they'll tell you that people will often go back time and time again. So that person doesn't need you to judge them. That person needs to know that they have another choice and there's somebody going to be there on the other end of the line. Okay? But don't buy into people being victims, because it adds to them staying in that space. See that person as someone who's empowered and that is making an interest choice, period. Does that make sense? So when you're speaking up and you're allowing others to speak up as well and being the space for that, when you allow that and you really are engaged in that conversation, that's where the amazing creation in the world can contribute to greater. Are you willing to be heard? And are you willing to hear? Great questions to ask yourself. I'm going to leave you with that while we go to our last break. You're listening to Inspired Choices with Christine McIver on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this break. Thank you.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices radio show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The Pleasure of Business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page Pleasure of Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736 or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around tonight. We've been talking about when is the right time to speak up. So here's the thing that I really want to bring to the table is you are aware of things in the world. You are aware of what will create a greater world. And I know that because you have awarenesses. You have things that light you up. You have things that you are attracted to. You know what makes a difference for you. You know what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure. And every single one of us is continuously in the possibility of creating. We are, even if we don't know it, we are all natural born creators. If you are someone that has been desiring to bring a business forward, I'll tell you when the right time to speak up about that business is. It's now. It's right now. When you have the energy of ideas, possibilities brewing within you, and you try to hold them back, when you're trying to get it right, when you're trying so desperately to make sure you bring it forth when it will bring the greatest value, you're going to start to snuff that energy of that out. When we hold back and we're trying to make sure that we're doing it at the right time, we're operating from the space of perfection. There is never a perfect time to bring your creation to the world. There is never going to be the right way to say something to please everyone. But here's what I know is when you have an awareness, when you have something that is desiring to come forth in the world, when you desire to teach a class, when you desire to speak, when you desire to stand on a stage and share something, you are always going to be nervous the first time because unknown to you, and that's what your brain does. Your brain operates from the space of protecting, okay? So that's going to be normal. The very first time I done anything, I have always been petrified. petrified. Well, there's been many times in my life where as a young child I chose things and it freaked me out. And so the body and the brain go into this natural state of protection when something new is coming up. So this is a natural state, and even if you haven't had those experiences, people will often say to you when you're about to step forward with a new creation, are you scared? Don't be scared. And what does that do? That sends us into, oh shit, what's to be scared about? And then we start to be scared. Your voice, your creation is required now. And as you bring forth your business, your creation, your thoughts, and you're willing to be very present with what is being created, you're willing to be this vulnerable and show up without having it all figured out perfectly, the very cool thing is that you are in the natural energy, the authentic energy of creation. You're going to be authentically creating because you're going to be so present, you'll start to be aware of other possibilities. You're going to start to see other avenues of how something can be created or what else wants to be added onto that. If you're coming from the space of judging your ideas, judging your voice in the world, you're going to immediately shut off your awareness to what else is possible. Because that's what judgment does. It's like, all these walls come flying down and they just close off any creation energy, any possibility energy, any awareness energy. So know that if there's something that is aching inside of you for more, you've got the awareness, my friends. You've totally got it, 100%, okay? And all that's required is for you to begin. For you to begin to step forward and to start speak, okay? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to actually have your voice in the world, have your ideas in the world like never before? Would you actually be willing to fail in order to have that fulfillment energy within you? Are you willing to take a risk, and are you willing to bet on you? This isn't always something that is easy out of the gate, and if this is something you're just thinking about, I get it. This can be really, really overwhelming. Just like I said at the very beginning, I want you to know your voice matters. You know something nobody else does. Not the way you know it. Nobody else knows exactly what you know, exactly how something can be different. You bringing forth, even stumbling forth with your voice, will create the world that you know is possible. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much for contributing your ideas, your questions, your thoughts, and your energies. Until next week, my friends, remember.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.